Good morning, Signature, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the first sales meeting of the year. How are you guys feeling?
I feel great.
Amazing.
You guys all recovered from your hangovers?
No.
Yes.
Never had a hangover.
The older I get, the longer it takes.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next year.
That's funny. So we got a good meeting on tap for you today. We thought it would be what better way to bring in the new year than have all of us to get together around the round table and discuss things.
Kind of oval.
Well, okay.
It's round.
So literal.
Chris and I are round. So anyway, to discuss things, we've got some topics to discuss, but we've also got some things to focus on getting your business started in the new year. And we've
2021.
And we got our silent assassin
2021, yes.
lender here, and she's going to kick it off with.
I am. Awesome.
Because we didn't give her any topics.
No topics today. I came prepared. This
That's
is the
good.
only topic I'm going to be prepared for. Happy New Year and Happy Tuesday, everyone. So I thought it would be cool to share with you our top 5 loans of 2020 and the reasons behind those top 5 loans. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, very intrigued.
Wow.
So starting with number 5, and we'll end with number 1. Number 5 was this beautiful home in Pahrump with a lake in it.
Inside the house?
Right outside the house
okay.
in Pahrump. And that's not the reason why that was our win. The number 1 reason was because our borrower was relocating from Antioch, California. His pending home actually wasn't closing in time. It was intended to close in time. We were able to use the pending sale because they had pretty much gotten all the way through final underwrite. They put their own money down. They didn't need the net proceeds from that, but we didn't have to count that debt against them using the pending sale, knowing that it was fully underwritten and ready to go to closing. So thank you to the Patrick team for that transaction and those clients. That was very early on in the process of the year. Our number 4 would be our Mr. Hammer, who went through our private lending division. So this was during the time when non-QM went away. Mm-hmm. And he is a cannabis owner, so we were able to provide him.
He was high on our list.
Exactly, literally.
All day.
I'm here all year.
And what'd you do this morning, Chris?
It was with Mr. Hammer.
Exactly, hammer time. So we were able to utilize the private lending division when non-QM had gone away. He purchased in Mesa, I think it's a Mesa Ridge by Toll Brothers,
yeah.
nearby you.
Where I
Not
wanna live.
exactly where you
You
live.
know any good deals in there? Something going below 300,000 maybe.
Maybe, yeah, just for the lot. And so that was a jumbo cannabis owner, non-QM. And then for Miss Lizette here, who is in our live audience, she is now in our office, the token condo queen. She has been able to get her borrowers approved with a 3% conventional financing and condo financing. So
Wow.
we're actually closing our second one with Lizette from the Bishop Roberts group.
Robert's Bishop. It's all the same.
Roberts
That was my
Bishop
father's name.
group. Anyway, so thank you to Lizette and your clients. And then number 2, number 2, yes, Mr. Endera, who we spoke a little bit about this client. He was actually the listing agent told me right up front when I called to say, hey, I got a great borrower for you. He's like, you're not going to be able to get this deal done. The only people in town that can do our loans at Queens Ridge is Nevada State Bank. So, of course, it was my mission to try to prove him wrong, which we did. Believe it or not, the high-rise condo side of it was easier than our borrower, and if you want to get more information on that, speak to Andrew about that. But that was a jumbo high-rise condo in Queens Ridge. Thank you again to Andrew Lensford for helping us with that one. And our number 1, drum roll, this one is actually a big one. December 31st, we get this beautiful email from FHA that says, boom,
Producer.
you are... your FHA single unit approval condominium has been approved. So thank you to Stephen Smith of the Bala Group. We actually were able to get our first FHA condo spot approval approved.
Wow.
That is our number 1, yeah, kicking
That's
off our
pretty
brand
amazing.
year. And I'll tell you this, there was actually another agent here in town, or in our office, who also had a client in that same complex. The day before closing, their lender called and said, hey, sorry, we're not going to be able to get this deal done because your project is not FHA condo approved, which we knew all along going into the transaction. We went down the path of a spot unit approval or a single unit approval. They went down the path thinking that they could just use an FHA approval, which it was not FHA approved. So moral of the story is thank you so much for everybody who took advantage of us, who allowed us to get these wins. We had so many different successes, but these were our top 5. For those of you who haven't had an opportunity to work with us, know that Tony, Bev, Shannon, Gabby, Myra, myself, we're all available for you, help you with growing your business, but also to close some of these great loans.
So a question on that FHA spot approval, how long does that take to get something like that done?
So we had a 45-day escrow. We actually are in an extension for a week only because of the holidays. We probably could have had it done, we probably could have gotten it right before Christmas, but because we had, they were off, Thursday? Completely off Thursday of the week of Christmas and then the week of New Year's.
And
it's
still
not-
got it done.
And it's not the easiest thing to do.
It is not, and I think that's the biggest piece. So, we condo, right? That has been the moral of our top wins this year. A lot of people they just don't want to do it. Because it's hard. We are well equipped. Our team is well equipped to take us through conventional condo approvals, high-rise condo approvals, and now we can say the FHA condo approvals.
Yeah, so the reason I ask is when you take a condo listing, or even if you're writing an offer on a condo listing, you probably should check, especially if you're writing an FHA or before you advertise an FHA, you should check if it is capable of going. I know this past year we probably had a dozen or so that get right up to the end of the closing, and then the lender and everyone find out it doesn't qualify to go FHA, and now you're past the loan denial deadline and everything else, and earnest money becomes a big dispute.
Yep.
So as a realtor, you're supposed to be able to do your due diligence, and anything that is reasonable to find, you should find. And we had one deal go bad not too long ago where, and it was sad to say it was kind of in-house, but it gets to the end and they find out, and it wasn't with your company, they get to the end of the deal and they find out that it doesn't qualify for FHA. Well, the seller goes online on Google and just Googles it, and within seconds knew that complex didn't go FHA.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is that you need to do a little bit of research if you're selling condos, listing condos, or everything else, if you're messing around in the FHA area, and find out before you start advertising that.
And it's way worth your time more than it was before, because remember about 10 years ago, the median price of a house in Las Vegas total was like $120,000, right? And a median price of a condo was like $32,000. And now the median price of a condo is $198,000. Tom hasn't told me about that.
I don't know, because I'm not the president anymore.
But you think that's uber luxury compared to what it was 10 years ago. And if you're the one in there that knows all these pieces and you have a great niche with a great lender that can help you, that's a massive business, because the buying public can only afford so much.
Yeah.
And so this morning we've got a great attendance online. We've got a few people here live. But part of our initiative this next year was better communication. And we rolled out a text line, a signature text line. And it's a two-way communication. You can't call the number, but you can text back and forth. And we're monitoring that, so you can ask questions that way too. But it's a great way for us to notify you.
Yeah.
And I think we've got about 160 people that have signed up on it already. We posted a post in the Facebook group, and we sent out a mass email. And I want to talk about it here. If you text 725-527-7604, and Beta will put that up on the screen, or we'll put it in the comments, and you just text SREG, you'll be added to our database so that we can contact you. So
cool.
If you didn't receive a text message this morning at 9:30 with the link to the sales meeting, then you're not enrolled in that. So go through that
What was
process.
that number again?
725-527-7604.
SREG.
Yeah, SREG. But that is just to put you in that the category so that you get the signature updates, but you can text anything to that at any time. And so we'll communicate with you guys through that as well. Just another way. We're not going to bombard your emails, but
Important stuff only.
yeah, just reminders of classes that are coming up, things like that. So you're in the know without having to do a lot of research on that.
I actually went in and set it as the signature text line, so when it would come across, I knew it was something
Oh,
special.
that's a good idea.
Right?
You're so full of good ideas, Chris. I gotta tell you.
Already, beginning of the year.
Wow.
I'm starting 2021 off right.
And so, speaking of starting 2021 off right, I mean, some of the things is, it's a new year, it's a new week, and I know I started off my my coaching calls this week, I did 4 of them yesterday, where I basically just said, hey, how's the new year treating you? You know?
So good, so far so good?
Yeah, and what I'm finding, the common theme is you kind of wind down at the end of the year. And so how do you push that up and start to really get some momentum going in the new year? So I kind of wanted to open up to you guys for some pointers and different things like that we can share. And I've got a few that we could just talk about, maybe some things to really jumpstart your business.
I think for me, it's always been planning. So one of my big things is to, I'm a spreadsheets, notes. I have to have notes in front of me. But I really like to put my thoughts down on paper. Not that I'm going to sit there and read it every second, but just because it puts the jumble that I have going on into a place where it makes sense. And then I do take my business plan with me every month when I meet with my coach and when I meet with my team, just to kind of say, here's what my plan is. Because if you don't have a plan, how do you know what you're supposed to be doing?
You don't.
Right? You were talking about rekindling relationships. I liked that the other day on your video, making calls.
Well, yeah, look, everybody gets stuck in a routine, right? We just gone through the whole holiday routine through the month of December because everybody starts slacking off. You're home more often and you get more, and I think everybody has a weekend routine and a workday routine. Mm-hmm. And more of the weekend routine ends up spilling onto the week, and it's hard to get out of that. And so by having a plan and knowing and calling people, I mean, well, how much easier can it be to say, hey, Happy New Year, how you doing? I'm looking forward to being, spending some time with you in 2021. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know.
Yeah.
I mean, what an easy call that one is.
Well, and that's interesting because this past year, like with COVID and the quarantine, it threw everybody out of routine.
Yeah.
Right? We get into these morning routines, we're creatures of habit. And so it threw us out of that. And the ones that were able to adapt and stick to a routine or reinvent the routine are the ones that were, I believe, successful over this last year. And I know kind of an example for me is when it first happened, I was almost paralyzed, right? Not physically, but you don't know what to quite do. And fortunately for me, I was moving out of my condo into a house, and there's some remodeling. So it gave me a thing to go do every day.
Focal point. Yeah.
Right? And so I got through that, and then we had our virtual offices. So it gave me something to start to build this routine. And then all of a sudden, they kind of moved into phase one of the shutdown. Everything was going to liven up a little bit. So we opened up our offices, and I had an office to go to, and I started going back to the office, right?
We appreciate that.
And yeah, me too. and so it started to give some normalcy to me. And then I remember Sislak came out with the mask mandate.
Yeah.
And it just threw me for a tailspin. And I was just irate, and I just couldn't figure out why. And I got on with my coach, Satima, at the time, and I was talking to him, and he talked me through it. And it wasn't the fact that it was a mask. It was the fact that I just started to get a sense of normalcy, right? And now things were changing again. So
Yeah.
it's important for me to really concentrate on my morning routine. And that starts the day off, that starts the week off. I know Shelly follows a morning routine.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is like my foundation for the whole day for me. I get thrown off. In fact, this morning, I by chance read a text first, and I literally didn't know what to do next. Like I was like completely blown away. And so I think you have to really get into that routine, whatever it may be. And I would also say just start small on that. Everybody's like, oh, I got to do this. Even if it's just get up and write your to-do list, you know what I mean, in the beginning of the day. Whatever it would be, start small with it.
I always liked my biggest thing, the best year I ever had in real estate, I had my database like dialed in. And every day I would come in, I would have a set list of people that I had to call that were friends and family and past clients and people that I knew from school or college or whatever. And I did go for a month. And the idea was I could make those phone calls, and I had 5 of them at least in the morning, 5 around lunch, and then 5 in the afternoon. And it gave me a focal point for my business. And the nice thing is when you have conversations about real estate, it's amazing how real estate business happens.
Right.
And so that's why I kept harping during the business prospecting about having 300 or 400 people to call, because if you come in every day and you have your routine down and you make those 15 phone calls like you were going to talk about, it's amazing how much business you get and just the momentum that generates. And like you said, it's mindset and momentum. One thing throws you off and the whole day is crushed.
Yeah.
And you can't do that in a sales-based business.
If you own the morning, the rest of the day will follow.
Yep.
You know?
100%.
Just gotta get out of bed.
I'm a big believer in synergism. I could never work at home. Even if I had nothing to do, I got up, I got dressed, and I went to the office. And I think just being around the buzz in the office motivated me personally. But I will tell you, when yesterday morning started, we went back to the office, and I'm going, oh God, I gotta take down these Christmas decorations sometime, and there was no one in the office except the staff. I'm like, oh God, this is gonna be a long day. But by about 10 o'clock, people are coming in, and they're like, Happy New Year, and then all of a sudden I have 2 people in the front of the office cold calling, and I can hear them, and there's buzz, and people kept coming in all through the day. And I think, really for me, real estate is a lonely business, and I'm an extrovert, and I need that energy around me to feed on and get going. And so I think most of you have been home for 9 months, and I know some of you have done extremely well. You've had the best year you've ever had this year because you embraced the change and you went with it. But for those of you who've been sitting at home going, oh, I don't know what to do, I don't really want to go out, our offices have all been sanitized. We're wearing masks when we walk in. We have hand sanitizing stations all over the office. I say just get up and come to the office for an hour. And if nothing else, get on the open computers or sit on an open computer, pretend you're doing something, and listen to the people who are cold calling around you.
Stand around the water cooler.
And that will get, we don't have a water cooler, darn it, but that will get you motivated.
Well, and the thing is, if you're having a hard time getting started this year, or even last year, you're looking at, that's what we're here for. Reach out to us. We can help figure out a plan to help get you back into the game or get things rolling for you. The other thing I would say is important to do is every year our bios change, right? Because you say, I've been in the real estate for X number of years. Well, the next year it kind of goes up, right? And all your other criteria and different things you accomplish through the year. And so I would say that one of the things you should be doing is what's, I would say, a social media and a consumer site audit. And the consumer site would be the site that the consumers go to search for property. So that'd be like your Zillow, your Realtor.com, your Trulia, all those other sites. And make sure that your profile and your picture is updated.
Your board site as well, because that feeds to a lot of things.
Right.
All that kind of stuff. And then on your social media pages too, just make sure everything's up to par, because it's a great time to do it and just go through that process.
Yep. I think the email that you sent out this weekend had a great piece in it that I really liked, and that was about, no matter how bad things were in 2020, no matter how bad you missed your goals or what happened, in 2021, January 1st, everything starts at 0. And so we're all on an equal playing field. The top producer in the marketplace and the first agent that just got their license, same level. And there's no limit to what you can achieve. And usually it's the mindset of, I'm not going to do it, or I can't do it, or I won't be great. That usually bogs everyone down. And so I think to your first question, how do I make my first quarter a great quarter? Get up, show up, and do the things you know you need to do, because it is that simple. It really is.
It's amazing what happens when you're at work
Yeah.
Exactly.
trying to do some work. Usually something good happens.
Yep.
Exactly.
True.
I used to, when I first started, I do 3 to 4 open houses a weekend, 2 on Saturday, 1 to 2 on Sunday, depending on which house had the biggest TV and what football game was on.
Hold on, I'll be right with you.
But seriously, and even though sometimes I'd sit through 4 open houses and nobody would come in, the first of the week something would happen. And I always would say, the real estate gods are shining down on you. To really make money in this business, you got to be in the business.
Yes.
And I think you'll start to attract stuff around you. So do real estate activities, and then good things will come from that.
And we can do open houses,
Yes.
right? We fought all half of the year of 2020 to
Yes, we
get
did.
that open.
Do you notice there were a lot of signs right away, and now there's not as
I
many
know, right?
signs? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's too cold. It's 40 degrees in December.
There's 2 weeks a year you can do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, talking about has-beens, so Tom,
Poor
Tom and I are now the newest past presidents in the state of Nevada.
Yeah.
Yes. And no one is more excited than him and I.
Yes.
Right? But Tom is now the Vice President of Nevada Realtors.
Yeah.
And so congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that.
Thank you.
Good luck.
we'll see what happens. See, I won't be president until what, 2023?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens
Would
that year.
Would that be just my luck?
And Brandon is now our newest president-elect
Yeah.
for Las Vegas Realtors. So if you have any complaints, issues, or problems, please
Call Brandon.
Please call
All right.
And
Brandon.
now
Aldo.
we'll him up to the state. So,
But all of us have kind of assumed a position on the PACs or the committees and the things that we're doing. But Janet, you spent this last year as past president. I've been past president. And the nice thing is it's now our turn to look at everything and complain.
I don't know about complaining, but you know what? If you're having, going back to trying to get going in 2021, right? If you're having an issue not being able to come to work because of COVID or whatever, all the committees
Yeah.
are online.
Yep.
You know, start getting back involved in what you want to do. And that's a real estate activity committee at LVR. You know, reach out to Chris or Brandon and see what other committees are available. Don't call me because I'm done.
he's
So-
done closing
Is
it
it
down.
still the same where you
Well,
have to, once you go
yeah.
in January?
I was gonna say, you can
Yeah.
call me because I really push the committees. And if you attend the first meeting, which you can attend
You're
in
on.
your pajamas down, because it will be on Zoom, of any open committee, you're automatically a member of that committee for the rest of the year unless you miss 3 meetings.
You should cover completely
But-
though, because you got to stand for the pledge.
Yes.
Carry the-
We don't want any hassles.
It goes along with get up, get dressed, show up.
Yes.
But anyway, if you don't attend the January meeting, and I think it was 2 weeks ago in the newsletter, I put the time and dates of all the open committee meetings. If you don't attend January, you have to attend 3 meetings before you can become a member. So it behoove you to go through the list. You can go to your LVR website, find the committees, find out their scope, what they do, and go, this one interests me. You can start with 1. You can start with 3. We don't care. Whatever interests you. And be a part of the
Yes.
decision-making at the association.
You know why I love that you talk about committee involvement, because a lot of times agents come in and they say, well, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to talk to my clients about. Well, that's where you get information. You come to these meetings, or you go to a training class, or you go to an LVR committee, and you get information that you can then disseminate to your clients and share things that other people don't know. And so that's why I love being involved in them and taking part, is because you hear things that others
And you're in
don't.
the know.
And you're in the know.
And you're in the business.
Yeah.
That's
You know?
right.
And Janet, the best
Working
part
in the
this week?
business.
Yeah, what else can you do on that website?
Yeah, like pay your dues.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
No
okay.
refunds?
Oh,
TJ, right?
It's like a big old,
It was flying high and it just missed.
we just love this
Caught it for you.
softball.
Paying money's not the best part. Okay, so, your local, state, and national dues are due today.
Yes.
If you don't pay today, you're not a realtor. And if you don't pay today, you have to pay a late fee. Now, the association is closed per the governor's directive till the 15th of January, and you cannot go down in person and pay. You can pay online, but last year, when we didn't even have COVID, come about 3:30, 4 o'clock
It gets a
on the
little
last day, the computers were very slow, and I think at one point, didn't they crash for about an hour or so?
Yeah, but we've upgraded those during this time, so, you know,
under-
during my year, we
Past
upgraded them.
president.
so-
We're under a new presidency now.
So start.
Just log into your
paying-
lockbox. We'll see what happens.
Go online and pay. Go to LasVegasRealtors.com, and you can click on there, and you can find where you go to pay. It'll say pay your dues. But here's the thing. If for some reason you don't have a credit card and you can't pay online and you can't go down in person,
You can call.
you can call.
Yeah, 784-5000.
Exactly.
That's 702-784-5000. Call operators today. They're standing by waiting for your call.
But they're
You're
going to be extremely busy. But you still have to have a credit card even if you call. But if you don't have a credit card, but you do have a check, you can write a check, put it in an envelope with your name and your public ID on the outside of the envelope, and there's a drop-off box right by the doors of the GLVAR, oh, there I go, LVR building,
Aha.
and drop your envelope in there. That box is emptied every hour on the hour. Krista Baker faithfully does it. But guess what? At 5 o'clock, that box goes away, and you have no choice but to pay online.
Just
You-
pay.
You don't
Yeah.
pay online today, you incur an automatic $50 late
Late
fee.
fee. And I went on this morning, I can look at our account and see, and there's quite a number of agents that still haven't paid. I think Chris Bishop's even one of them that's waiting
Yeah,
till
Chris
the last
hasn't-
minute.
Chris hasn't
Hey,
paid
at
yet.
least I'm consistent, right?
He'll get it in today, but a lot of us wait to the last minute, and I'm just saying, just when you're done with this meeting, jump on there,
Yeah.
pay it, because if you're gonna do it sometime during the day and you forget, 5 o'clock, you got a $50 penalty, and nobody wants to pay an
Nobody
extra
wants that.
$50.
So, and let me just say this too, the best thing I have ever done is I went on automatic layaway. That's not gonna prevent you from paying today, you must pay the full amount today. And then there's a form that you can fill out where they'll take all your fees, your yearly dues, your MLS fees, your lockbox fees. They'll divide it by 12 and they'll automatically take that every month, and I can't remember what it is, because I don't.
Smart pay layaway, but I don't know how much it is.
I think it's,
$96?
It's a couple $100.
well, you've got, you're in a different category. I think it's like
It's
$112.
not the first time she said that.
I think it's $112 a month, and then you don't have to worry about, oh my God, I forgot to pay my dues yesterday, now I owe $50. And
Never
they
said
don't waive that fee for any reason.
no.
I don't care if you're in the
No
hospital
refunds.
with COVID.
No
Those
refunds.
changes.
They're
So,
not waiving.
702-784-5000, operators are standing by to take your call. Please
Today.
give a
And-
call and set
But,
yourselves
And
up
if
for
phone
smart
lines are
pay
busy,
layaway.
Janet's available all day to help you through the process.
But anyway, the other thing I want to say too is if you want that smart layaway form and you can't find it, call me, I have the form, I'll gladly email it to you.
I have a question for you guys, just random, just popped in my head because somebody asked me yesterday. When does the extended CE classes go into effect? Do we have a date on that yet?
You know, that's a great question, Brandon. I have no idea. I've heard that it was postponed because you couldn't have in-person classes, and that upgrade in the amount of credits they were going to require. But then V said in a class the other day, it
It's
was gonna
in
start
law,
June
it's
1st.
in law.
Sure, Hammer.
And I believe it starts, it's supposed to start January 1st, so I think it should be this year.
Yeah.
But that is still up in the air because we haven't gotten full verification that they're, even though it's in NAC, that it's
So it had to go through the legislative
done all that. and-
bill,
It's done
Yeah,
now.
whatever,
That
and-
happened a couple of
Then
years
they were
ago.
figuring, then they had a committee to figure out how to
Figure
go.
it
So
out.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, yeah.
we're gonna research that and figure that out, and I know Vonda's monitoring
of
the
it.
chat and
Yeah.
stuff, so if she
She'll
knows,
correct
she'll
us.
pipe in, but anyway, I just,
The good point is we do have a number of CE classes we have coming up, so you have the opportunity every year to get all of the needed CE here at Signature for free. And so make sure you take advantage of that because the schedule comes out, it's kind of cool.
And right as of right now, it can all be online. So get it now while you can do it easily
So-
online versus having to go back in person.
So the Nevada Real Estate Division, by their regulations, have to post every CE class within the state. And what's really cool right now is that you can take a CE class anywhere in the state because it's virtual. So if it's in Elko or if it's in Carson City, it doesn't matter, get on and take it because if you need that CE, don't wait to the last minute to pay your dues.
Yeah.
Vonda does have the answer, so stay tuned here. But we can keep moving, but she did type in there, I have the answer, so.
Cool.
I don't know if that means call her, or if,
Call her, I have the answer, yeah. So we have some topics that came up that we said that we would cover today, and I think that it's a pretty good potpourri of things. So the first one came in our signature, Agents of Signature page, and it talked about, I have a client that is selling their home, but they need to lease it back for a short period of time, and what is the right process or protocol to do that? And big concern right now is the fact that when you put a person into a tenancy situation, when there's
They
a
never have to move out.
moratorium, they never have to move out. And so these are situations that are happening because a seller is being accommodated, and a lot of times it's part of the offer. You know, a seller can have a free rent back or whatever. Do not do that without an agreement in place because that seller is now trespassing if they didn't move out and you don't have an agreement. And so Dave Sanders, our legal counsel, many times has recommended that for a very short-term lease, 30 days or less, LVR created a occupancy agreement, and it's RPA addendum to occupancy or whatever it is.
Yeah, and there's two of them.
It's
there's
agreement,
a pre and a post.
Yeah.
Pre and a post.
Yeah.
agreement to occupy prior, post-closing or something like that.
Yes.
But it starts with an A. If you're one of those people like, what's this form called? I can't find it. It's agreement to occupy.
Yeah, and the big thing is, because then that still remains part of the purchase agreement,
Yes.
right? Instead of tenancy. right?
And the point that's important is if you know that you're going into a situation where you're allowing the seller to lease back, the terms of the lease back should be memorized somewhere in writing, saying what the rent rate is going to be, what the deposit is going to be, and what the daily amount will be that'll be prorated back, because those are the questions in the lease back agreement. And if there's no contractual agreement between the parties, there's nothing to fill into the occupancy agreement, and then you're fighting with somebody a week before closing. The other thing that Dave recommended, which I really agree with, is that if it's over 30 days, it really doesn't provide you with all the protection of what happens if the house burns down, what happens if their items get stolen, what happens if there's a break-in. And so a lease really is the best protection in that case. And leases don't have to be for 6 months or a year. They can be very short-term, but you really do want to make sure your client's in a good position, because if they go to court, they're going to be pointing fingers at you.
Right.
Yep.
And
Go ahead. From a lender standpoint, if you have, on your buyer's side, just make sure if they're purchasing as owner occupied, they have to occupy within a 60-day period, so do not extend that lease past 60 days.
I'm glad you brought that up, because
Is that on your list?
yeah, well, no, that's the one thing that we talked about, is that knowing your business, there's a guideline in reasonable skill and care that says if you're an agent in the business and you know that FHA has to occupy within a period of time, VA has to, then why would you write terms that don't comply with what you know to be true?
Right.
And we've seen that a lot lately, so
Well,
be careful of that.
the other thing I would say is use this pre and post occupancy as a last.
Sparingly.
resort. Yeah, it usually doesn't end well. And what I mean by that is, if you escrow any funds to protect almost like from damages of them moving out and stuff, good luck on getting the other party to sign off on it. You're gonna have a fight over it almost every time. That buyer coming in is gonna say that they want every scratch fixed and everything else. It just creates a whole mess of problems. So really use that sparingly, and if you have any questions, get in touch with one of the brokers to help you through it.
And you do have to do a walkthrough. You have to do a walkthrough before the deal records to establish the property's condition after the
Lots of
inspection
photos.
repairs.
Lots of photos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lots
Take a
of
video.
photos.
And then once the seller finally moves out, you have to do another walkthrough.
Lots of photos,
And
so
so
you can
make
give them to
sure
the
that-
judge. Here, judge, this is what it was when they lived in the house before I bought it. This is what I got when,
But see,
everything was on the way.
nothing really changes to the point where that seller is still responsible to deliver it is in that condition right up to the time of possession,
Yeah.
right? And close of escrow and possession are two different things. So you've just negotiated a different possession date, but they're still responsible for those damages according to the contract. So
And that's why you need a deposit in escrow or wherever you're gonna hold it, because you've lost their proceed money that's sitting there and the closing. So there's nothing to negotiate over. There should be a deposit.
But my question is this, when somebody's moving out on the day of close of escrow, you don't have a deposit then,
No.
but they're still responsible
Yep.
for that. So even if you don't have a deposit, and sometimes I think if it's a few days, a deposit may or may not be necessary, even if you don't have a deposit, that buyer moving in still has rights according to that contract to enforce that. So-
Yeah, it's a very convoluted situation. Don't do it if you don't have to,
Yeah.
but only in those cases where it's gonna make or break the deal, then, look at it, but look at it very sparingly.
The other side of that is a buyer moving in, we've had this happen a few times, a buyer moving in advance of closing because their other home or something happened or the property's vacant and they don't want vandalism and what, I've heard all the reasons. And then we've had some situations where that's happened and the deal not close. And now you've got a buyer living in a property they can't buy, right? And now that we're trying to figure out the reason to get that fixed, and now you've created a tenancy relationship, and we're in an eviction moratorium under certain circumstances, and they hear things and think things, and now they're upset because they lost their earnest money and they have no place to live, and so don't do it if you don't have to.
Yeah,
Right.
especially right now,
Yeah.
during
Yeah, and I mean-
during these awkward times.
Ivana just wrote that she had a client that lost $700 of their security deposit because they didn't, because the home wasn't professionally cleaned when they moved out. So the buyer coming in wanted it professionally cleaned, even though the RPA didn't say that. They end up arguing about it, and the money's held in escrow, and the only way to get it released or any portion of it
Yeah.
is they had to give some up, and that makes it tough.
Do you remember the land purchase agreement used to say you had to leave the property brand clean?
Yes.
It was hard to get all the dirt out.
Okay, so we also have on here, one of the comments came up, the term, and we used this many, many times back in the olden REO days, right, Tom? Sold as is, right?
My
And-
favorite
yeah.
statement.
Sold as is actually has no legal definition in the law, because as is what? right? As is today, as is tomorrow, as is yesterday,
That's why it was my favorite term.
as
Because
is.
back in the REO day, I was about as gray could be.
But the point of it is, from the REO and the bank standpoint, is that they're selling the property and they don't want to do anything to it, and you're taking it in the condition that it's in. We have a cabin right now in Mount Charleston that's an REO. It's sold as is, the bank definition from their attorney. But the whole point is, you could write an offer and ask for anything.
Yep.
Negotiation
Yeah.
doesn't stop. It's just the point of, they're trying to convey you to the point that they don't want to do anything. But if I gave you more money than you're asking for, would you do something? I don't know, give me an offer.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. It doesn't preclude you from doing a home inspection.
Nope.
It doesn't preclude you from putting a request for repairs. It just says, they're saying right now that they won't do anything. And I just talked to an agent yesterday on this, and they said, she's double-siding it, and she said the seller is willing to do anything major, but what he's trying to portray across the thing is basically, I'm not gonna do a lot of the minor
Yeah,
ticky
they're not gonna put light switches,
That's it,
plates
but
on, they're not gonna put doorknobs on, if the toilet's jiggling and leaking, jiggle
mean
it,
as
jiggle
is?
it, yeah, jiggle it and let it make it stop, come on.
Toilet's gone, they're not gonna put one in.
But the important thing to know is you can still object to
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they have to fix it, but
You can ask.
even if they're selling it not as is, they don't have to fix anything.
The
So-
problem we see more often is the agent just assumes something because of something they read, and it's not our job to assume anything, it's our job to provide information, so the client assumes everything or makes the decision. And the point is that I've had banks make major repairs because a property finds out it doesn't qualify for certain
Right.
types of financing. And for $1,000 or $2,000 it does, and that buyer's able to buy it. And so just understand the reason behind it, and understand that as foreclosures will continue to happen, we know that they're going to. We're gonna see a lot more as is. And I've had a seller, not an REO, just say, I don't wanna make any repairs.
Same,
Okay.
it's the same concept. I wanna sell it the way it sits. I don't wanna have to do anything more, because one, I may not be able to afford it, or two, the equity's not really there, but the banks are the same way. They don't wanna put any more money into a bad loan
Yeah,
that they gave out than they have to.
Yep.
So it's the same, it's all negotiations, doesn't mean that they're not gonna do it, it's just, they're trying to set the table,
yeah.
so they don't have to.
And the value is the seller can always say no. No is a powerful word, and when they get the inspection repair agreement and they say, I want these repairs, the seller can say no. But I do think it sets the stage that the seller doesn't want to do
Right.
something, and so I get it.
As is means nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This question came in through a few files that we were looking at, and a couple of new agents that were asking the question. I have these clients that they're very busy, and they're always out of town, and so could I execute a document for them?
No.
No.
Next
It's not
question.
no, it's
Hell no.
Hell no, no, you cannot ever touch a document or do anything for a client, because you are not the buyer, you are not the seller, and if you ever touch anything like that, you ever go out of that, that's technically, I don't want to say the F word, fraud,
yeah.
but you signing things on behalf of someone else without their authority or permission is fraud.
And it seems so easy with electronic signing, right? Change it to my email address, have it sent to, hold on.
Don't
Have
teach
it-
'em how to do
have
it.
Have it sent to me and me sign it as them. The problem is, where that email address and the routing number for the computer
Certification.
is all
IP.
on there. And it just takes running the little certificate to find out that you just put your license
Yes.
and potentially some time in jail on the line for some BS form that you wanted to have to get out right this second, but could have waited the day to get it signed properly.
Here's the other thing, another spin on it. Don't send it to somebody else
Yeah.
that doesn't have the right to sign off on the property either. I don't care if it's their sister, their uncle, their brother, their best friend.
Yes.
They tell you that they can sign for it, it doesn't matter. If they don't have a power of attorney, don't do it. Because in the end, if it ends up in court, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
So one of the items this has come up on is the walkthrough, right? The walkthrough says client or client's representative. I understand you're the real estate agent, but technically in that context, you're not the representative. That's whoever's taking possession of the property for them.
That did the walkthrough.
Yeah, I don't care who it is other than them with their written permission. Oh, hey, my cousin John is gonna come take the keys for me because I live out of state. John can sign it with their written permission, an email from them. John's gonna come get the keys and sign the walkthrough. If you sign that walkthrough, you've now taken responsibility for that property's condition. And I've actually had it happen to me as the property manager on a home, went there the day of the walkthrough, walked around the corner and the AC unit's gone. Like, just the cage was left. and it's June. It's hot, right? And so if I had signed that walkthrough or the agent had signed that walkthrough, we just took liability for the fact the home is not in the condition it should be. So don't ever do that either. And the SRPD. So this comes up a lot. Well, my client has inability to check the boxes correctly. You can't start checking boxes. You can't fill it out for them. They have to do it because it's the seller's, not yours, the seller's real property disclosure. And so people say all the time, well, it's an investor. That doesn't mean anything. Just like an REO bank technically isn't exempt from the document. I know we went through that whole thing in 2008, but they're paying for repairs. They're having contractors go to the home to fix items, and because that happens, they now have knowledge. And what the SRPD says, do you know of? Do you know of an issue? The answer could be no, I don't know of one, so you could check no. But it doesn't mean you can't do the work of filling out the document or that you as the agent could fill it out for them. That is their job by law
And
for them to
it's
do.
funny because one of the response from a lot of sellers, well, I've never lived in it, so I don't know. Well, then mark that.
Then put
but
that
you can
down.
still
Never
fill
lived
it out.
in, no, I never lived in the house, have no
As is,
idea.
Yeah.
Selling as is.
The back page, if you actually go through all the way through the SRPD on page 4, I believe, and page 5, is the actual state law that governs the SRPD. And one of the items says the seller cannot be held responsible for things the seller doesn't know.
Right.
And so if you literally don't know that that's an issue and you've never been disclosed to it, you didn't pay for it, you're not responsible for it.
Yep.
And so that's why you would check no and complete it. The other thing that we see on the SRPD that's frustrating is it's just blank. Like they just sign the bottom of it. And so I think we've talked about this many times, and as the agent, my job is to say to my seller, hey, listen, I'm just pointing out your disclosure, you didn't check any boxes, and so this probably will get kicked back. What do you want to do? And if the seller says, I don't care, I'm not touching it, my attorney said not to, it's their disclosure. My job is to relay information to the parties. Same thing when it comes back, and there's no explanation for anything. I'm just supposed to point out things that I understand, but I'm not supposed to interject myself into doing it.
We manage the process, they make the decisions.
Yep. So,
Never go wrong.
The other thing that we've heard on this SRPD issue, and I've seen agents put this in emails, is when there's a problem on it, like someone didn't check something or they find something out, they start threatening lawsuits as the agent and that you're going to owe 3 times the damages. Don't do that. All you've now done is taken the responsibility that you're now an attorney without a license, giving legal advice, and these sellers here and buyers here, you say lawsuit, and that they're going to get money, and the buyer thinks, well, I'll just go forward with it because the agent says I'm going to get a payday, right? You put that in that circumstance, don't do it. Anything else on those you guys want to talk about?
Read.
Yeah, I had an agent call me last week, as a matter of fact, and said, I just got an SRPD and the date on it is 2017. Are we gonna accept that? I said, call the agent and say, are you aware that the date on this, was that a mistake? Or do you need to fill out a new form?
Yeah.
And then just ask your buyer, are you okay with this, or would you like me to request another one? And if the buyer requests them to send over an
They
updated
want an
one, then
updated
just ask
one,
for an
that's-
updated
yeah.
one. And then your buyer can decide if they want to move forward or not, if they provide one or not. But I don't think it's the job of the office to say, nope, we need it to be dated this. I think you need to run these things by your client and have those conversations.
And get it noted somewhere in your file, please, that they
Yes.
accept the 2017 SRPD in an email, and it's in a sky slope that you upload so that you have it for verification.
The other thing that's interesting on this is, so I'm the listing agent, and I get an SRPD for my client, and I give it to you as the buyer's agent. You're the buyer's agent. And you do a home inspection, and you find things that we didn't know about, right? Do I have to change the SRPD?
Yes.
If they're pertinent facts that are the
Wait,
questions.
Wait,
SRPD.
do you have to change the SRP if you put it back on the market? The answer is yes.
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 During this period of time,
No.
no. You've now.
Unless it's a water damage issue that I've now been disclosed, because it says, do you know of any water damage? That's the only one people argue that say, well, you technically know there is one, should you update it?
But
But you've been disclosed.
based on the date that it was written,
Yep.
this is what I knew.
Yep.
Now you've done your home inspection and you know it. And really, the SRPD is used so that your buyer can look at it and direct your inspector to look closer at
Yes.
any of the issues.
So it's important it gets there before you do the home inspection in some
Right.
cases.
Right.
So
Yeah.
again, this is
Not
what
right before closing.
this is what clients are paying us to do, to provide them with advice and information. And if we don't do these things, if you don't put it in writing, if you don't ask the questions, are you really providing the full service?
No.
And I think that's the whole point. Okay, I got one for you. This is my favorite. Other brokers, company required documents. Do I have to do them?
So, it depends.
I like that answer
It
because that's what
depends.
an attorney would say.
It depends.
If it's written in what other documents are in the RPA,
Requested, yeah.
then yes. Now, here's the thing, if the other company sends over a document and the agent just says, we're not signing that, you can't do that.
You're making a decision.
Present it to
You
your
made the
client,
decision.
and if your client doesn't want to sign it, then that's fine. But 9 times out of 10, your clients are going to sign it.
Yeah,
And it's not a point where you should be fighting over.
And the whole point is that it was years in the business before I understood that there were different types of documents. I just thought they were all required, right? We used to get them out of a drawer. I'm not kidding. I just grabbed every one that I thought would apply, and I put them in front of a client. And so there's division required documents by state law. There's your company
Which are
required.
only 2, right?
Well, there's more than
Duties
2.
owed and the SRPD?
Well, there's
Well,
the real estate
lead-based
disclosure
paying.
guide.
Oh, yeah, well, those
That's a
don't count.
federal document.
Those don't count.
And then there's your broker required documents because of our E&O policy and things that we as a brokerage feel are warranted to protect the brokerage from liability. Other companies have put in like blanketed documents. I just got one the other day that's like a 6-page addendum, to whatever they want. And in the bottom of the addendum, it has a complete release where it says we release the listing agent, the listing broker, and the seller of all liability of anything, but it doesn't say anything about the buyer's agent or the buyer's I mean, it's a crap release. And it's not my job though to tell the seller. My job is to say, hey, I want you to know this is what's in here. Do you want to sign it? And that's the whole point.
Well, and here's the other thing too, I've been through this a million times, where certain companies have certain forms that if you don't have this form signed in your file, you're not getting paid.
That agent's not getting paid.
That agency.
That
And if you want to
that
move to
agent.
Signature Real Estate Group, we've got a great
So I always tell them, discuss the form with your client. If they have no issues, have them sign it. And as a courtesy, even though we don't require this and it's their office-specific form, they need this so they can get paid.
And just like conforming documents, when you have an addendum that needs to be executed, we in our own documents have something that's already there. Like I've seen a buyer disclosure statement from another brokerage that has the, let's say, mold disclosure in it, where we've already had one signed. I don't need to do another one. I mean, here it is. Here you go. I got one the other day, the Beltway disclosure.
Seen that?
There's a
You-
A little
company.
late.
You wow.
It's already been disclosed and built. There's no new parts of it. I did hear
It's
that
almost
there's.
a complete circle.
I did hear there's a part that could go behind Nellis. Did you hear that?
No.
Yeah, that's something that they're talking about. But anyway, the point is that some people just don't know, and some people haven't been updated, and so you owe them the respect to give them the benefit of the doubt.
And don't be a jerk about it.
Don't be a
right?
jerk about
I
it.
mean, we're in this together.
Let us be
right?
jerks about it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
Broker
if you
said.
come across a form that looks out of the ordinary, it's a company generated form or something, and you're not sure about it, it's not your job to interpret it, bring it to one of us, we can get it in front of our attorney, and our attorney can look at it and give some advice on it. Not for you to pass on to the client, but at least we understand a little bit more about it, so.
And I think the important thing is, they're doing it to protect people, right? So it's not done out of malice, but sometimes agents just say, well, you gotta sign it because my broker requires it, and they don't understand that there's a difference between.
my mold form is better than your
Yeah,
mold.
exactly,
Right.
yeah.
And don't-
You're moldy either way, I
and
know.
please don't go out there and create all your own forms.
Yes,
to-
don't do that.
To do this either, so.
The last one on here that came up, which is something just to remind everybody, and Vonda talked about it a few times about a month and a half ago, is to put a property in W or WC status, what the actual process is. And so there is a document called a withdrawn notice, and it's just like a change order, and it has 2 options on it, W and WC. Withdrawn for the W is a completely unconditional withdrawal, meaning that anyone can list that property, you've
Giving them
canceled
all
your
rights.
listing agreement.
Right.
It's not valid unless it's signed by the seller and the broker of the office. And so please do not go changing anything or doing anything until the broker has signed it, because it has to have that to be valid.
And then they can't change it to
Well,
W.
You can't
they can
change
go
it to W.
WC.
You can go to
You
WC.
can go to WC, but that document still needs to be required, because if you put something in WC and you didn't get it executed, the MLS could audit our file
Yep.
and say that their documents aren't correct. And that's what happens sometimes when you have a seller that's upset and wants out of a contract. They go to whoever is talking to them and they say, well, did you get this document? Did you see it? The broker is the only one who can put it in W status with their MLS access. So it's not like an agent can just put it in W like you said. And so that's why you have to get it signed. The broker has to sign it, and we have to then upload it. So it is a little bit of a process.
And have the seller
for a
sign
reason.
it before you send it to us.
But here's the
Yes.
thing also, don't expect a unconditional withdrawal to be withdrawn off the MLS on a Saturday night,
Yeah.
because all of a sudden you got something signed and now you want it withdrawn over the weekend. It's going to happen on the next
Business day.
business.
But let's go back. Before you have the seller just sign it because you're doing it, I do believe there's a partnership between the agent and us as brokers. And I would like to do everything that I can to help you maintain and keep your listing commission dollars. And so sometimes the things that happen are not because people didn't like each other or malice. It's just a differencing of opinion. And sometimes a phone call from myself or Brandon or one of the brokers could save the deal. Or if it is a difference of personalities where you just don't like your seller, we could interject ourselves and maintain that deal so that you can get some referral dollars, the deal can close, and you don't lose that entire transaction before you just go agreeing to withdraw
We
it.
got a whole bunch of agents with a lot of different personalities.
Yep.
I'm sure we could find somebody to
Yeah.
pair them up
Yeah.
with to save that deal, like he said, get you some money still for the work that you did. So it's not good to just give out unconditional withdrawals.
But it feels good sometimes, right, as an agent?
I
I'm
fired that
I
client.
agree, well, I'm withdrawing. What the heck, I'm firing you as my client. It's like, dude, you just threw away a bunch of money.
Yeah, don't do that. That was the topic sheet from
That's it, huh?
so
That's
far,
it? Oh, come on.
2021.
Oh, it's only
Anything else
10:20.
to add?
It's too new.
No, I think that if you want this to be a good quarter, you got to work for it, right? And like we said, you got to get out there and you got to make your phone calls. You got to work on your database. It'll be December before you know it. And if you don't take action today, you don't want to let 2021 go to waste.
That's right.
You gotta,
And show up at the office, get a little energy, get a little
Synergy.
pumped up, and then you can go home for 3 days and do your own thing in your own office, and then when you need another shot of energy and synergism, come back to the office, it helps a lot.
Janet's lonely.
Yes, I am.
Okay, anything else, you guys? All
just
right.
go, do it work, do the work. You know, you don't get paid for sitting at home.
That's right.
Not today.
Okay. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later this week in the offices or online.
Pay your dues and join a committee.
No refunds.